One thing that really annoyed me is the lack of understanding how to light for dark skin tone. What's up, beautiful people? In today's video, we're going to be doing something different, that is talking about the movie Coming to America. The movie is called Coming to America, even though they only spent 2 minutes in America. Do you think they should have called it Coming to America? I don't know. So if you're new here, my name is Kashilembo and this channel is all about visual storytelling. So today, let's talk about the movie. Comment below, did you like the movie or no? But for me, I consider this film as a cash grab, and I want you to listen to understand, because when I start talking or when I tell you what I think, this thing will start to play in your mind and you start to notice those small things that I just noticed. So the first thing is the character Eddie Murphy. The first film was perfect and I loved it because the character was so raw, and this is the first time in a comedy film that the character did not make me laugh. The main character did not make me laugh, and I was like, whoa. I was expecting to see more from Eddie, but I don't know. I feel like there was a restriction from him. I don't know if you guys felt the same. And another thing is just so many mistakes that are in the movie that we're going to talk one by one. And the animals. The animal looks very robotic and the movement does not add up. And the skin of the elephant or the buffaloes running around, it's very robotic. And I'm like, rah, you guys had the money. Also, the place where those scenes took place doesn't really look like Africa, but that was Rick Ross's house, which they use as a set. And I'm like, dude, you could have maybe made an effort to do something better with the money that you had. Another thing is that if you saw the lion scene, bro, that thing looked two-dimensional. When it's sleeping on the ground, it doesn't even fit in that area. You have to pay attention and you have to understand visual storytelling and 3D or special effects. But you would start to see also when you look at the lion, it's not really like the lion that you see, like three-dimensional, big head and fluffy hair. No, it just looked like a cartoon. I'm like, brr. There's another scene inside the cage where the dude is trying to cut the lion thing. So when he cut it, and they show close up, it look very thick, and I'm like, okay, cool. And when he's inside presenting to the kings and queen, it looks very thin and very long. I'm like, bruv, continuity, we can see that. And I'm like, but one thing that really annoyed me is the lack of understanding how to light for dark skin tone. That's where I get involved. And when you make a movie about Africa that has a lot of shades, different black shades, and bro, at least make an effort to learn how to light for dark skin. And I've spent so much time talking about this even when I was at film school, and the character looks very dry and mushy. That's how I describe them, but I did not see that true melanin or that beautiful skin tone, and I didn't even want to know who the DP was, but you did a terrible job. And the costume was okay-ish. And talking about the costume, which is the most important part of visual storytelling, basically costume takes you to a place. Costume gives you a sense of belonging. Costume gives you a sense of identity, and you can literally start a movie with someone dressing, let's say a Masai, and everyone will know, wow, that's Kenya, because we start to associate that costume with a place. But when I watched this movie, the costume was all over the place. They took inspiration from Scotland. Africa was like 20% good African, and then India and the Middle East, they were so dominant. I'm like, bro, what are you trying to do? Again, if you start to watch this close, you start to understand what I'm talking about. And if that was me, I would have done so much research and just represent Africa and all the cultures and bring them together to celebrate this textile and the couture, the African couture, which we have the best outfits, Africa. You know, all my Nigerian uncle, Congolese uncles, Ghana, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Zimbabwe, Malawi, all of you guys. I felt like you was misrepresented, and the culture, and obviously is in Zamunda, which is supposed to be somewhere in Africa. And another thing that I've noticed is that the celebration with the king, right? In African history, when they are celebrating to the king and queens, there's two things that I always see. There's a spear and there's a shield. One represent protection, another one represents striking. But in this movie, the celebration is like Caribbean, Brazil-ish. Even that's French. So for my French people, that's for you. Even the dress, it kind of looked like very carnival-ish. But if you actually look into Africa's celebration, you start to understand the way they dress, like animal print and so many other things that symbolizes something in African culture. But we will let that one slide. Again, I don't know if it's the director, I don't know, but the story felt very short. The story felt very rushed, and I felt like I needed more from few characters. And the most funniest scene was the barbershop scene, which was dope, but I wanted to focus time on those characters because those people could have their own story. Like, why are they there? Do they have trouble in their house? Why do they still cut hair at their age? And just tell us more about their character. Also, another thing that I've noticed inside the barbershop is that there has been 30 years plus difference, and I wanted to see the edging on those character, but the light complexion character have aged very well, even though there's like a costume difference from the last movie and this movie, but they've spent so much time on him to do the freckles, the wrinkle, whatever you call them thing. And when you go to the light skin characters, the only thing that they've managed to change is the color of their skin complexion. They made it quite lighter, but if you pay attention, you would see these people still look the same, but they look more lighter. So I'm like, dude, I don't know. So these are just things that I pick up because your boy is always thinking ahead when watching these movies, especially when they involve anything to do with Africa. My next point was just sound alone. Again, just as costume, sound takes us to a place. Sound gives us a sense of belonging and identity. And I can tell you to close your eyes, and even from me speaking, you start to say, cool, this is an African guy that has quite a British accent. That's what my voice is telling you. So you associate what I'm telling you or what I'm talking about with a place. But when Rick Ross spoke, or when Wesley spoke, or when Tiana spoke, I failed to associate those places with any African country, and I'm like, well, that is the rosé accent, which makes me laugh, or which also takes me to my next point. So African actor that lives in the UK, when they go to perform to the US and they kill it, they speak good accent, American accent, you guys tend to complain, but how come now your actors are butchering the African accent but no one seems to talk about? And that doesn't really make sense. So American actors and just any other presenters, if we want to work together, we should work together as a whole and not really blaming who comes here to do what. Because listen, did you hear Rick Ross talk? That was trash. Also, I feel like they casted Rick Ross because the film was shot in his house, and I'm like, well, Rick Ross, you got the part. And one thing that I felt like, the architecture of the film looked more like the Middle East. And if you see the building, you know this is Dubai. This is not anywhere in Africa, because Africa have houses that are different, have different architecture than the one in the movie. Or it's fiction, but at least make it looks like Africa. And I feel like they could have done a lot of research, like bare research. And that's why I felt like this could have been a Ryan Coogler's job, because he would have this big weight on his shoulder and then focus more on telling the right story, because he is the closer you are to the reference, the better you understand. He's black, he's a black filmmaker, and he really understands the pressure that comes with telling our own stories. But another thing that I've picked up in the whole film is that casting Davido is good, but I would not have casted Davido. And that's not because I don't like Davido, but because I feel like there's a song called African Queen by Two-Face Idibia. That song is the best song that represents every African queen, which could have been used in the film. And obviously Two-Face Idibia himself, he's singing from an African king perspective that everyone could have felt like, well, we are in this film together. But that's just my opinion. Again, it's coming from a creative mindset and a very progressive mindset. Another thing that I've noticed is that the whole film felt like a theater. It felt like a play. It felt like I was watching a carnival or a wedding. It did not feel like a cinematic genius piece, and that's because the director or the DP, I don't know who that responsibility is, they focused on showing everything how it was not supposed to be. And I feel like there's a character, the main character, the dude who was lost in America, and if that was me, by the time he did not want to be in Zamunda, I would have made it like really use the camera to make him feel like he does not want to be here, as claustrophobic, or just use the camera to your advantage. And then once he wants to be there, or once he's happy to be on that space, and then use the camera to establish that. But there was no difference creative wise. And you also have to think deep and use your own imagination and see how people use the camera to portray the story in the right way. And I'm like, bro, oh, there's so many things missing. And just the casting as well, there's a lot of colorism in the casting, which I feel like they pick more lighter skin complexion people because it's easy to light, because dark skin is very reflective, and that has become a challenge for more DPs, especially people who've never worked with African skin tone before. And I've spent time talking about this when I was doing my master's at the university, and that's an issue that is there. And they don't pick darker skinned women because, not because they cannot act, but because it's just easy for these guys to light. The reason why I feel like they did not give this movie to Ryan Coogler is that he's very creative, and I felt like he wanted more creative control and have more input, which they did not give him, hence why they gave the film to someone else who was just looking for a paycheck. The last thing that I want to say to the director, I don't want you to feel like I'm coming to you or I'm coming to provoke you because you did not do a good job. I just want you to know that there's a difference between learning the African culture on Google and YouTube, and there's a difference between experiencing the African culture being an African filmmaker and creator. So that's the difference between us and you, and we will tell that story by trying to impress our people and build history, and your reason to making that story is a paycheck. So guys, that's it for today's. My name is Kashilembo and I'm a DP director based in London. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe, hit that like, and turn on your notification bell so you will not miss when I post a video like this. But I'm going to leave my email below, my Instagram. Hit me up if you want to talk. Comments below and I'm going to reply to all your questions. Peace.